Hello and welcome to the show. This is Everything Under the Sun. My name is Ty. Hope all you've been doing incredible. This is going to be a shorter episode, but something that has kind of come up for me recently. I was listening to actually my own podcast. I was just listening to an episode, just seeing how it came out, the last episode actually. And I mentioned before that sometimes I'll podcast and there are things that kind of come out that I don't think I actually process myself. So when I listen back to it, I learn something deeper. And just like journaling or listening to like a maybe auto diary that you may have, when you hear your own voice or see your own writing with something that you've experienced, it hits you in a different way when you hear it again from a different vantage point, from a different perspective, from almost like just from like a third person perspective. You're reading it from the outside, but you know within yourself that it came from you. I mean, obviously it came from you because you wrote it or you recorded it, but the point is that it kind of evolves within you a different way, and it helps you to understand things a little bit better. And as I was listening to this last podcast, of course the understanding started like coming in a little bit deeper, and I felt like I was processing something in a deeper way. But as I started to think about my life and moving towards the great abundance and joy and happiness and things that I am actively stepping on this path towards, there were thoughts that started to come up in my head of memories of past situations, of past circumstances, of past experiences that I've had that make me feel as though it's like, how could you step forward in this new step of living love and light and happiness and joy and all sort of stuff when you did that, or when that situation happened, or when you've experienced such a hardship or whatever it is. And it made me realize that there are many times that these kind of thoughts come up when we think about doing something more, moving towards some kind of new passion or inspiration. We think, oh, last time we failed, oh, we've been told all our lives that we can never achieve anything, or this has never been something that's been within my range, and people tell me that like I'm daydreaming thinking about doing this. But we think about these things, these negative thoughts, these negative ideas, these negative memories that we bring back into this now situation that's keeping us from taking that step forward, that's hindering us from accepting and allowing all of the joy and abundance that's coming in our lives. And it really happens so much so that we don't see the blessings that are in our life. I mentioned after the fire that I was so traumatized that I'd lost my place and that I didn't feel like I had any place to go. I found myself living in an estate, a $3 million estate, surrounded by beautiful people that were loving and caring, and it had all the properties of the house that I had envisioned within my own mind. And I'm not living there anymore. It was just kind of like for a few months I was living there, but I found myself there in that place, and I wasn't able to accept it. And there was someone else there that was speaking about how blessed we were to be in this beautiful place and find ourselves in this beautiful circumstance after such a terrible incident. And I couldn't see that myself. I couldn't see that blessing myself. And it wasn't until after a month or so of being there that it really dawned on me. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I was actually looking out over the balcony and I was seeing the ocean, I was seeing the mountain, and that's when it hit me that these were the key features of the house that I had envisioned within my mind. Infinity pool with a hot tub waterfall and a view of the ocean and the mountain. Those were the key features, and this house had it. And I found myself in that, and I was living in it for weeks, for over a month. And it didn't dawn on me the blessings that were surrounding me. It wasn't until I allowed myself to let go of what I had experienced so much that I wasn't able to see what was around me. When I was able to let that go, when I was able to say to myself that this pain from the fire, this is something that it hurts, it hurts, and I recognize why the hurt is there, but it does not feel good. And what I know in my life is that I can live a life of happiness. And this, paying attention to this, focusing on this, staying with this feeling, it's not helping me. It's not helping me to move forward in the happiness that I know I want to live. And of course, recognizing that didn't make it go away immediately. There was processing that had to happen. There was opening up. There had to be a willingness to shed that. And when it was shed, when it was finally let go of in a meaningful way where it was processed, I was able to see the blessings around me. And then from that point on, blessings were pouring into my life because what I chose to see and what I chose to focus on were the blessings. There were memories that would come up and still to this day of things that I lost in the fire, things that I forgot that I had, like things like relics that I've been holding on to. And I realized that they were lost in the fire, but instead of going back to that place of like pain, of feeling like loss or separation from this meaningful thing that I may have had and lost, I want to focus on the blessings in my life. I want to focus on the good in my life. So when we think about moving towards our happiness in whatever way that is, we may have these thoughts that come up in our mind that keep us from taking that step forward and keep us from even recognizing the blessings that have already been brought into our lives through family, through friends, through loved ones, through life, through wellness, through whatever it is. Like there are blessings that are always in our lives, but there are situations and things that we think about, things that we ruminate on, things that we bring back up constantly that keep us from recognizing and seeing those things. And when this happened to me, when I was listening to the episode before and the thoughts came in, how could you move forward towards that? How could you even speak about moving towards things like that or other people moving towards that when you've had this experience, when you've done that thing? And what that brought up to me, and again, it's happened before. And before I would end up shutting down my blessings. I would shut down that vision of goodness and I would ruminate again on those thoughts. But this time it was different, and I wanted to share that with you because this time when those thoughts came up, it was almost as if an answer was given to me for a question that I didn't know I was asking. But the question was, what is holding me back from taking that next step forward? What's keeping me from really accepting all the blessings? Like I feel incredibly blessed in my life and I feel happy. But I know that there are more blessings that are coming in that I feel like I'm blocking. And I didn't know that was a question that I was asking, but the answer came in that feeling of how could you move forward toward your happiness through these negative thoughts, through these negative ideas that came up. That's when the answer was shown to me. Because instead of focusing on these negative thoughts as if they're these things that keep on plaguing my life and keeping me from goodness, rather they were identifying the reason why I've been blocking off my blessings, why I haven't been able to fully step forward into this next avenue of my life. They haven't been there to haunt me. They're not there to destroy me and put me down. They're highlighting the very reason why I may be blocking myself off from really leaping forward into the happiness, into the joyous, abundant life that I know is meant for me and all of us. There are many times that those thoughts seem so real. They seem like they're monsters. They seem like they're mountains. And at that point, it's very hard to dismiss them or see them as the guiding light, so to speak. But when we give them less attention, when we diminish them so much so that our joy and our happiness, our emotion towards that outweighs the pain and suffering of our past, then that's when that mountain becomes smaller. It becomes a molehill. And then it appears as the light that it's meant to be. Because I feel like if these thoughts came up years ago, before I've done this constant work towards moving towards my happiness, before I affirmed that my happiness was paramount, more important than anything, if these thoughts had come before that, then they would bring me back to the dark place. They would make me feel as though it's like, yeah, maybe that's right. Maybe I should just stay in my own lane. Maybe I should just like keep to myself and like not really venture out towards anything else because like that thing did happen. I did say that thing to that one person. That situation did turn out the way that it did. Just because these things have happened doesn't mean that they have to prevent us from taking that step forward towards our happiness. So all this is to say is that I'm very grateful for these thoughts that came up in this moment because it highlighted the realization that these were blocking me from moving forward. And again, just because the recognition is there doesn't mean they instantly go away, but it transformed what those thoughts were. It transformed the narrative that I was saying within my mind about these thoughts that was inherently giving them more power. By saying that these things are negative thoughts that keep plaguing me, it's giving them more power. It's saying these things have the ability to plague me. These thoughts, these beliefs have the ability to plague me and in turn keep me from my happiness, keep me from my joy, keep me from living the life that I want to live. Changing that narrative to saying, you know what, this is highlighting what has been keeping me from these very things that I want to experience in my life. And no longer do I want to give it attention. Because again, it doesn't instantly go away. But what I said to myself in that moment as it was highlighted, I said, I don't know what to do with you. And of course, these weren't words that I was actually saying to myself, but this is the energy that was flowing through that I'm translating into words now. But, I don't know what to do with you right now. But I know that when this topic comes up again about moving towards my happiness and you pop back up, I will not give you attention. You may scream, you may shout, but my attention is focused on the good and the happiness and the joy in my life. And again, I'm not sure exactly what to do with you, but I'm not going to pay attention to you anymore. I'm not going to allow you to even disrupt the flow of good thoughts and good feelings that I have when I hear something inspirational, when I feel something inspirational about a direction that I want to go in my life. When these thoughts and ideas come up that maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I can't do that, maybe I shouldn't be speaking in that way, or because this situation happened in the past, or because it failed last time, or whatever it may be. These thoughts, I no longer want to give you attention because you are not in alignment with the happiness and joy that I want to feel in my life. And again, some of these things that you may experience may still be mountains. It doesn't mean that we still have to give it attention. It may be harder to not direct our attention there, but we can still put in the effort to focus on something that is good, something that feels better. And then as we get to a place where we feel like there's a good flow happening in our life, we are moving towards our happiness, and we still feel these things start coming in, we can remind ourselves that this is not where the power is held anymore. This is not where I need to focus my attention anymore. And I'm very thankful for this thought coming up, because it was almost hidden in a deep, dark closet that was always there and even popped back up in random parts of my life. But now that it's succinctly showing its head, I can see the cause of why I've been cutting myself off from the goodness in my life. And now that I see that, I can do more to focus my attention when that comes up, when that thought comes up, when that idea, when that belief seems to come up. Give it less power by giving it less attention. And again, I will keep you posted with how this process works within myself. But again, this entire process, everything I speak about in this podcast is my own journey towards happiness, and sharing that with you, sharing that with others that I know. We're living life. We are still in the same world, and now my world has transformed. The way that I see it has transformed greatly. And I have conversations with friends and family, and they see the world in a different way. And at first that was very aggravating because it was so in conflict. And I was like, why don't you just see it in this way? and that doesn't make anyone feel good when someone else is hurting, when someone else only sees pain and suffering in the world, to kind of tell them that they're wrong, and even seeing the world in that way. That's not something that feels good. So it's a process of allowing, even as you move towards this journey of bettering yourself in whatever way you feel that you need to do that, by moving towards the happiness in your life, by moving towards the joy in your life, you will see that friends and family, even strangers, may have differing opinions than you, may see the world in a different way, may even be listening to that negative news and feel as though that is the state of the world, and we have to focus on that. As you choose your path, there will be others that are choosing their own path. And we can give kindness, and we can give joy, and we can give happiness, and we can give love to them. But we don't have to force them to change the way that they're thinking, because again, that's just going to bring down our own energy. Allow yourself to feel the things that you feel and move in the path that you want to move in. And when negative thoughts or ideas or beliefs come in the form of internal dialogue or external dialogue that you're having with others in the world, because again, this world is a reflection. So if you have beliefs and you have ideas that are holding on to you, that are triggering to you, then you will experience them in the world. You will see them in the world, and you will be triggered by them in the world. But the motion towards our happiness and our joy is dismissing and not giving attention to those thoughts, those ideas, nor to the things that we see in the world that are in conflict with our happiness. And that is a hard part, because we feel as though the world is real and that we have to focus on it, and we have to just move in accordance to how the world is moving us. But if any of us truly did that 100%, then humanity would be nothing. We would have destroyed ourselves a long time ago. It is hope, it is love, it is inspiration, it is innovation, it is dreaming of something more that has kept humanity evolving. And the things that keep us stuck is war and ideas of hatred and negativity towards each other, towards ourselves. These are the things that keep us stuck. These are the negative thoughts that are coming up when we say, I want to move towards good. Oh, but you did that thing before. Oh, that thing happened before in the past. Oh, you said that thing. These are things that, again, keep us in every way possible moving towards our happiness. So when you recognize this coming up, whether internally or externally, allow yourself to remain in that state that you want to be in. Remain in a state of calmness and joy and peace and happiness, and know that that is what you deserve. And don't give your attention to anything else that's outside of that. So yeah, that's really all I have for this episode. It was a very inspired episode by what had transpired just moments ago before I started this podcast. And I really wanted to share that. And I want to share more instances like this, because these are conversations I'm having with myself all the time, within myself, that just help me to move towards greater happiness in my life. So I want to try to share that more. But again, they happen so often that I don't always have a microphone with me. So I did want to share that because I did have this opportunity, and I only wish the best for you in your life. I only wish happiness and joy and abundance, because there's enough for all of us. When you realize that you are already abundant, then you realize that there is enough for everyone, because your abundance comes from within. It's not anything that's coming from outside. Your abundance is you are incredibly abundant. And as you know that and recognize that within yourself, the world will show it to you in every single form possible. In every way possible. I promise you that. But you have to feel it and know it within yourself. I am abundant. I am abundant. There is abundance always within myself. And as we move towards that, as we stick to that thought, as that we stick to that belief and recognize that as the reality that we want to live, then that is the reality that we will live. So yeah, again, that's all I had. I'm thankful to get to share that. And again, I just want the best for all people in life. And yeah, that's all I got. So if you have any thoughts or ideas or anything I'd like to share, you can send that to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com. You can join any of the social media groups: Instagram at everything.sunpodcast, Twitter at everysunpodcast, the Facebook group at everysunpodcast, and the YouTube page at everysunpodcast. And that's all I got. I love you all so much, and I'll talk to you soon.